Hi, I'm William. I'm from OMG, Winemaker Group from Singapore, and I'm here uh, to facilitate the Maker Villa in Batam. I think a lot of people have a question as to what is a maker, and I think this word maker is a very big word because it encompasses many activities. So I think in many countries, many people have difficulty trying to understand or even to translate what does a maker do or what is a maker. Maybe I can break it down to this word into different kind of activities because making can be fixing, making can also be hacking, making can also be inventing, making can also be tinkering. So why do I say that making has all these different kind of activity? That's because the word maker, as what we understand, really comes from the movement that is started in the United States, by the maker media that is based in the Bay Area. So because of the word they use, it kind of encompasses all the activities that normally will be associated to people who do DIY, people who do crafts, people who do things with their hands. So it can be very confusing, but the main thing is not what is a maker, but what is the philosophy behind what that drives the maker. And I think one of the differentiation between a maker and a non-maker is perhaps a maker is always learning. So a maker is always having this mindset that if today I do not know, I will learn. Tomorrow I will learn. Tomorrow I'll be able to learn something and improve myself. So some people will say that a maker have this growth mindset. Second is a maker is different from other people because a maker has this attitude of sharing, of open sharing. Compared to some artists or some designer, they may not be willing to share. But for a maker, you can say that the maker believes in this philosophy or this ethos of sharing, of learning from others, and once they have developed their skills, they would like to share it, because they don't put themselves into a particular mold that, oh, I'm an artist, I'm a designer, I'm a scientist. Right? A maker is basically a person who say, I want to test my idea. I will do it. If I do not know how to do it, I will learn and then I will do it. So, and the third and the most important thing is the maker is always the person who do it. No, that means he's a doer. Many people have this tendency to say, to dream, to plan, or to talk about something. But a maker is different from other people because a maker believes in this philosophy of doing. That means if I have an idea, I don't wait, I do. So that is, I believe, is the kind of philosophy and attitude that drives a maker. So we don't see a maker as just a person, but I think a maker is really about the philosophy, the ethos that drives them to do something which is very different from other people. I think this question about whether we need or do not need, it depends on the culture and the context. A country with makers, I believe, tends to be a bit more sustainable because a maker do not wait for somebody to tell them to do something. Um, I believe a maker is a person that has the ability to react better than people who have no experience in making. Um, Whenever you have some natural disaster, or something that may not be right in their own community, rather than waiting for the government or for other people to do something, a maker is normally the one that responds to this situation. We can see this as an example in Japan, where at one time in probably 2011, there was the earthquake, and that causes the nuclear power plant to have meltdown. And the Japanese government then did not release the information about the radiation. So the citizens are very worried. But it is the makers, okay, that actually create their own Geiger counter, okay, and they share this information with other people so that they can build their own Geiger counter to measure the radiation levels. So this is a very positive way to respond to a disaster, rather than becoming very fearful because we don't have information. Makers create something that produce information, and with this information, they can help to say they can kind of understand what is the real situation and then do something about it. So I believe a nation with a strong support from makers will tend to react better whenever you have disaster or whenever you have things that doesn't go well in the country. I would think that perhaps what you mean is who should be
Part of.
or should be more involved. I mean, I believe the maker movement is really will be very useful if we because as I mentioned, the maker movement is really about the philosophy, and we can inculcate this philosophy in our children. Okay, then we can see that in the next 15 years, 20 years, we will have citizens or people who are able to be less fearful, who are able to do more things, rather than just sit down, sit back, and wait for things to happen. And the reason why we said children, because children, they are open to influences, and children tends to take years to develop, and once it become a habit, so you can find that when they carry on this positive attitude about making, they can become skillful about making. They can be more confident. They are able to their confidence will allow them to actually do more. Okay? So I think making or maker education is something that's very important, and we should start from children as young as possible. Starting a business is a challenge, promoting maker movement, like starting a business, is challenging because it's something new. Not many people would understand this, So because they don't understand, naturally there will be challenges. Just like starting a business, you need resources, you need people to believe, you need to show product. So like starting a business, promoting maker movement, okay, will definitely have its challenges. So, but having said that, we have to be very careful that maker movement is not the answer or the solution to the world's problem. Okay, so it doesn't mean that the world needs to have a maker movement. Okay, it's just that some people believes that I can do something about it. Therefore, I am a maker. And whenever I do something, I put something online, other people around the world sees it and he is inspired, and he becomes a maker, and that is what we call a movement, where without me knowing, somebody is actually copying me or are inspired by me. So the reality is that we have to be very mindful that it has to start from ourselves and our response to the things around us. It should not be, oh, this is something that I must promote because it is the best thing that I think of. So the danger is when people try to force people to be makers, then we find that it will backfire. Okay, so I think there is positive values behind making, but that doesn't mean everyone needs to be a maker. I guess when you talk about contribution, you're talking about I suppose you're talking about what is the impact. Am I right when I say? So let's assume that no one understands what is a maker or maker philosophy. You will always have employees who will just be waiting for the bosses to tell them what to do. Because after all, I am a salaried person. I don't have any freedom to do anything. So let's assume that this happened. But as soon as a person realizes that he has the skill and he has the freedom to change or to do something, then wouldn't it be good for the company? So if you ask me what is the contribution or impact that a maker could do, is that you will really have a positive and hardworking workforce. And isn't that great for the country? So whenever there is a problem, okay, the maker will be the one who trying to solve or try to think about solving the problem, because the maker takes on this philosophy that I think I can try and do it, and I'm going to suggest or I'm going to test out this idea. We have many cases. For example, recently in Thailand, we have the boys who are trapped under the cave, right? We need makers to put on the creative hat to think of how to solve the problem and not sit back and wait. Maybe the police know how to solve, maybe the Marines know how to solve, okay? Or wait for Elon Musk to solve. So if we have enough makers, or even if Thailand have makers who are creative, they will start to give ideas. They will start to, test out the idea, rather than waiting for people to come and rescue them. So, which is why I believe that this idea that a maker carries, that rather than waiting, I can do something. I can test my idea, because I have some skills. I may not be very good at it, but I don't mind doing it first. So as opposed to not doing anything, passive, sit back, wait for other people to do. Right. So if you get what I'm trying to say, that people who are actively trying to do something is always better for the country than the people who say, let the government solve their problem, and it's none of my business. Itself, it's an artificial construct. It's what people say to describe a group of people. In reality, people actually don't care. Like I have people coming from 3 countries. Is this a community? I'll say yes, it's a community. But do they know that there was a community? They don't know. You know what I'm saying? So the concept of community is really depends on the glue. Who is the glue that brings the community together? So sometimes we take it upon ourselves as organizer to I want to be the glue to bring people, and will these people that come together will become a long-lasting community? Maybe not, but it doesn't really matter, because we should allow people to do things freely, and when it's time to come together, we can come together. When it's time to go off, we can go off. So I don't like, I mean, I don't think there is a need to emphasize so much on community, you know.